These are 10 legendary actors who walked away from Hollywood at the peak of their careers. Some made the choice themselves, while others got pushed out by scandal, blacklisting, or an industry that turned on them without warning. Here's what really happened. Rick Moranis. The 80s and 90s belonged to Rick Moranis in a way few comedic actors ever experience. Ghostbusters pulled in $282 million worldwide, and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids became Disney's highest-grossing live-action film at the time, with $222.7 million. An Emmy for SCTV and an American Comedy Award for Parenthood made him one of the most bankable stars in Hollywood, and then he disappeared completely. February 4, 1991, changed everything when his wife Ann Belsky died of breast cancer, just one day before turning 35. Mitchell and Rachel, their twin children, lost their mother, and Moranis found himself raising them alone. City Slickers had him lined up for a major role that year, but he dropped out as Ann's condition deteriorated. What followed wasn't a sudden exit but a slow fade over 6 years, ending with Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves in 1997, a direct-to-video release that marked his last theatrical appearance.
Cockroaches? There are cockroaches here?
Well, it's an attic.
I hate cockroaches.
His reasoning came out in a 2015 Hollywood Reporter interview where he explained it plainly. I pulled out of making movies in about 96 or 97. I'm a single parent, and I just found that it was too difficult to manage raising my kids and doing the traveling involved in making movies. Years later, he added, I have absolutely no regrets whatsoever. My life is wonderful. Hollywood didn't stop trying though. Ghostbusters sequels got turned down, along with Big Daddy and Captain Ron, and when the 2016 Ghostbusters reboot came calling with a cameo offer, Moranis told The Hollywood Reporter it made no sense to him. Ernie Hudson dropped an interesting detail about Ghostbusters Frozen Empire in 2024, revealing that the studio offered Moranis more money than they offered Hudson himself. 23 years after his last role, Moranis signed on for Spaceballs 2 in September 2025, bringing Dark Helmet back to life. Brendan Fraser. Action movies in the late 90s and early 2000s ran on Brendan Fraser's energy and charm. The Mummy trilogy alone brought in over $1.25 billion worldwide, and Fraser walked away with $30.5 million just from those 3 films. George of the Jungle added another $174.4 million to his box office total, and everywhere you looked, there he was, doing his own stunts and earning a reputation as one of the genuinely nice guys working in the business. The stunts caught up with him though, and his body started breaking down in ways that required serious medical intervention. 7 years of surgeries followed, including a laminectomy for his back, a partial knee replacement, vocal cord repair, and compressed spinal pads that had to be bolted together. When he spoke to The Telegraph in 2023, Fraser described his morning routine. Every morning, I was putting myself together like a gladiator with muscle tape and ice packs, strapping on this transformer-like exoskeleton just to get through the scene. Physical pain turned out to be only part of the story. Summer 2003 brought an incident at a Beverly Hills hotel luncheon that Fraser didn't talk about publicly for 15 years. Philip Burke, who was president of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association at the time, allegedly assaulted him in a way that Fraser described to GQ in 2018. His left hand reaches around, grabs my ass cheek, and one of his fingers touches me in the taint, and he starts moving it around. The words that followed showed how deeply it affected him, saying he felt like a little kid and thought he was going to cry. An HFPA investigation concluded that Burke inappropriately touched Fraser but decided it was intended as a joke, while Burke himself called the entire account a total fabrication. Fraser's career nosedived afterward, and he connected the dots for GQ. The phone does stop ringing in your career, and you start asking yourself why. Was that one of the reasons? I think it was. The Whale brought him back in 2022, and the role earned him the Best Actor Oscar in 2023. He refused to attend the Golden Globes. Jack Gleeson. Television had never seen a villain quite like King Joffrey Baratheon when Game of Thrones introduced him to the world. Jack Gleeson inhabited the role across 26 episodes from 2011 to 2014, torturing Sansa Stark, ordering Ned Stark's execution, and becoming the character everyone loved to hate with an intensity that burned white hot. 17 years old when casting happened, Gleeson won IGN's Best TV Villain Award 3 years running, and then walked away from it all. The Purple Wedding aired in 2014 as Joffrey's death scene, and 21-year-old Gleeson announced his retirement from screen acting right as his fame peaked. A 2013 speech at Oxford Union laid out exactly what the experience felt like. People suddenly wanted to take pictures of me on the street, and journalists were interested in what sort of socks I preferred. It was an atmosphere from which I instantly wanted to retreat. He went further, explaining how celebrity itself became something almost religious. Celebrity is seen by a huge amount of people, and certainly myself for a while, as the pinnacle of society, of success. It is revered almost religiously. Entertainment Weekly got a simpler explanation in 2014, when Gleeson admitted, "I've been acting since age 8, I just stopped enjoying it as much as I used to. When you make a living from something, it changes your relationship with it. What's worth noting is how consistently he's denied that fan hatred drove the decision, clarifying at the House of Guinness premiere in 2025 that he never received any abuse from anybody. 6 years passed before Gleeson returned to screen acting, with BBC's Out of Her Mind in 2020. Sex Education and Netflix's The Sandman followed, proving he could come back on his own terms. Cameron Diaz. Hollywood paid Cameron Diaz like royalty throughout the 2000s. 2013 numbers from The Hollywood Reporter named her the highest-paid actress over 40, and her films had grossed over $3 billion domestically by that point. Charlie's Angels Full Throttle handed her $20 million, making her only the third actress to earn that much for a single film, while Bad Teacher brought in around $42 million through profit participation alone. 3 films came out in 2014, The Other Woman, Sex Tape, and Annie. Nothing followed them, and Diaz vanished from Hollywood completely. Kevin Hart's Peacock show Heart to Heart in 2021 finally got the explanation. When you do something at a really high level for a long period of time, all parts of you that has to sort of be handed off to other people. I just looked around and there were so many parts of my life that I wasn't touching and that I wasn't managing. October 2024 brought an even more direct answer at Fortune's Most Powerful Women Summit, where Diaz made her priorities crystal clear. For me, it was just something I had to do to reclaim my own life. Nobody's opinion, nobody's success, no one's offer, no one's anything could change my mind about my decision of taking care of myself and building the life that I really wanted to have. Good Charlotte guitarist Benji Madden married her on January 5, 2015, and daughter Radix arrived in December 2019, followed by son Cardinal in March 2024. The Graham Norton Show caught up with her in January 2025, and her reflection on retirement said everything. "Oh my God, I loved it. It was the best 10 years of my life." Back in Action hit Netflix in January 2025, with Diaz earning $45 million for a 2-film deal, but she drew a hard line about her motivation. "The reason why I did this movie is because Jamie was doing the movie. That is 100% the reason." Josh Hartnett. The early 2000s positioned Josh Hartnett as Hollywood's next major leading man, and the numbers backed it up. Pearl Harbor brought in $449.2 million worldwide in 2001. The same year, Black Hawk Down added $172.9 million more. 9 films total carried his name in 2000, one alone. Vanity Fair put him on their July 2001 cover with the headline, "The Making of Josh Hartnett," and People named him one of the 50 most beautiful people in 2002. Superman came calling with a straight-up offer, and Hartnett turned it down. Variety got the confirmation in January 2020, when he admitted, "I'd only turned down Superman as a straight-up offer." Conversations about playing Batman for Christopher Nolan happened too, though Nolan later clarified those talks never got far enough to become a real offer. The roles weren't the real problem though. July 2024 brought a Guardian interview where Hartnett described what his life had become. "People's attention to me at the time was borderline unhealthy. There were incidents. People showed up at my house. People that were stalking me. A guy showed up at one of my premieres with a gun, claiming to be my father. He ended up in prison." Regret about Batman surfaced in a 2015 Playboy interview where Hartnett reflected on watching Christian Bale's career. "Watching Christian Bale go on to do so many other things has been just awesome. I should have been part of the relationship with this guy Nolan." 15 to 18 months off the grid followed, along with a move to England and a complete step away from blockbusters. Actress Tamsin Egerton became his wife in November 2021, and 4 children later they're living near the Surrey-Sussex border. Oppenheimer in 2023 finally put him in a Nolan film 20 years after those initial Batman conversations, and Trap in 2024 for M. Night Shyamalan proved the comeback was real. Meg Ryan. America's sweetheart built her throne on romantic comedies that defined the genre. When Harry Met Sally in 1989 pulled in $92.8 million domestically, and the famous deli orgasm scene came from Ryan's own creative input. Sleepless in Seattle and You've Got Mail paired her with Tom Hanks in films that AFI later ranked among the top 10 greatest romantic comedies ever made, and Richard Corliss declared her the current soul of romantic comedy in 1995. The scandal hit in 2000 like a bomb going off. Ryan had married Dennis Quaid on Valentine's Day 1991, and their son Jack arrived on April 24, 1992, but Proof of Life filming, in mid-2000, sparked an affair with co-star Russell Crowe. Fall 2000 brought the affair into public view, and June 28, 2000 marked the official separation between Ryan and Quaid. W Magazine in November 2000 caught her raw reaction. "So this is what it feels like to be the Scarlet Woman. What happened next reveals everything about Hollywood's double standards." Russell Crowe won the Best Actor Oscar for Gladiator in 2001, right in the middle of the scandal, and kept right on starring in major blockbusters. Meg Ryan got branded a cheater and watched her career collapse in real time. Proof of Life's director Taylor Hackford told the press in December 2000 that the film would probably be best known for sparking the affair, adding that it had an indelible and very destructive effect on the release. In the Cut arrived in 2003 as Ryan's attempt to break out of her sweetheart image through explicit sex scenes, and the reaction came back brutal. Her reflection to the New York Times Magazine in 2019 connected the dots. When I did In the Cut, the reaction was vicious. I think that might have been the last movie I did. Variety caught up with her at the Sarajevo Film Festival in 2024, and Ryan's assessment of the industry was blunt. There's no doubt that for anybody older, roles are limited, but those limits don't exist for a director or a producer. Sean Young. Blade Runner in 1982 made Sean Young's Rachel one of the most iconic characters of the decade, and the roles kept coming. Dune, No Way Out with Kevin Costner, and Wall Street put her in the center of major productions, and then Hollywood decided she was too difficult to work with. James Woods filed a lawsuit against Young in 1988, claiming harassment that included a disfigured doll on his doorstep and repeated harassing phone calls. Young denied everything and flipped the accusation, saying Woods was retaliating after she rejected his advances. The case settled out of court with Woods paying Young $227,000 in legal fees, which told its own story about who was really at fault. Warren Beatty and Dick Tracy in 1990 brought another accusation from Young, this time in a March 2021 Daily Beast interview. I was basically sexually harassed by him. What was news was, I blew the whistle on it. There is one rule in Hollywood you don't break. You don't tell the truth about people in the press. Batman became the stuff of legend though. Young got cast as Vicky Vale in 1989, but broke her arm during horse riding rehearsals, and when Batman Returns needed a Catwoman in 1991, Young showed up at the Warner Brothers lot in a homemade Catwoman costume. Mark Canton, a Warner Brothers executive, described the scene on the Shadows of the Bat DVD in 2005. My office door flew open, and Sean Young dressed as Catwoman leap over my sofa and say, "I am Catwoman." July 24, 1991, put her on the Joan Rivers show in full Catwoman costume, calling director Tim Burton rude and Timmy. Harvey Weinstein enters the story through PBS Frontline's Weinstein documentary on March 2, 2018, where Young described what happened. He pulled his thing out, and my response was, "You know, Harvey, I really wouldn't be pulling that thing out because it's really not pretty," and I got up and I left. The reason I didn't get another movie with Harvey Weinstein was that I made him feel foolish. Bridget Fonda. Hollywood royalty ran in Bridget Fonda's blood through her grandfather Henry Fonda, her father Peter Fonda, and her aunt Jane Fonda. Professional debut came in 1987, and star status followed quickly. Single white female brought in $84.1 million in 1992. Jackie Brown added $74.7 million in 1997, and A Simple Plan in 1998 earned a 90% certified fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes as her most critically acclaimed work. February 27, 2003 brought the accident that changed everything. Rain-soaked Pacific Coast Highway in Malibu sent Fonda's Jaguar skidding off the road and rolling downhill, totaling the car completely. Her seatbelt saved her life, leaving her with what BBC and CNN reported as a slight fracture of 2 thoracic vertebrae and an expected full recovery. 1 month later, in March 2003, engagement to composer Danny Elfman became official. Their meeting happened on the set of A Simple Plan in 1998, where Elfman composed the score, and November 29, 2003 brought their wedding. Son Oliver arrived in 2005, completing the family. Snow Queen, a TV movie in 2002, holds the distinction of being her final acting credit. No official retirement announcement ever came, just a complete stop. 2009 marked her last official public appearance at the Inglourious Basterds premiere with Elfman by her side. January 2022 brought the first paparazzi photos in 12 years, courtesy of the Daily Mail, and April 2023 caught her at LAX, where photographers asked about returning to acting. Her answer couldn't have been clearer: "I don't think so. It's too nice being a civilian." Over 20 years of almost complete silence makes Fonda's one of the most thorough disappearances Hollywood has ever seen. Daniel Radcliffe, age 11 in 2000, marked the moment Daniel Radcliffe became Harry Potter, and the decade that followed brought a franchise worth over $9.66 billion worldwide. Approximately $95.6 to $100 million landed in Radcliffe's accounts from the films alone, pushing his current net worth to an estimated $110 million. Drinking became a problem during the final Potter films, starting around age 18 and intensifying during Half-Blood Prince, filming from 2007 to 2009. Off Camera with Sam Jones in February 2019 got the honest explanation: the quickest way of forgetting about the fact that you're being watched was to get very drunk. As you get very drunk, you become aware that people are watching more now because now I'm getting very drunk, so I should probably drink more to ignore that. BBC Radio's Desert Island Discs in March 2020 brought more context when Radcliffe admitted, "I definitely think a lot of the drinking that happened towards the end of Potter and sort of for a little bit after it finished, it was panic and not knowing what to do next and not being comfortable enough in who I was to remain sober." His on-set behavior got specific acknowledgement. "I could point to many scenes where I'm just gone, dead behind the eyes." Hungover appearances and still drunk filming sessions became his normal. August 2010 at age 21 or 22 brought his first attempt at sobriety, followed by a relapse in 2012 during an alcohol-fueled altercation at a New York City bar. Sobriety stuck after 2012 and continues to this day. Career strategy after Potter showed real intelligence. Equus, on the West End in 2007, put 17-year-old Radcliffe in a role requiring full nudity. and The Guardian wrote that the revelation of the revival was that Daniel Radcliffe really could act. June 16, 2024, brought the Tony Award for Best Featured Actor in a musical for Merrily We Roll Along, marking his first major individual acting award. Faye Dunaway. Network earned Faye Dunaway the Academy Award for Best Actress in 1977, following nominations for Bonnie and Clyde in 1967 and Chinatown in 1974. The 1980s brought a reputation that destroyed everything she'd built. Chinatown's set brought conflict with director Roman Polanski when he allegedly plucked a stray hair from her head. Reports say she screamed, "That plucked my hair," before storming off, and Peter Biskind's book Easy Riders, Raging Bulls claimed she threw urine at Polanski after he refused her a bathroom break. The Guardian's 2008 interview asking about the incident got shut down. "I won't respond to that. That doesn't even deserve the dignity of a response." She ended the interview immediately. Polanski's later comments called her a gigantic pain in the ass and certifiable proof of insanity, while Jack Nicholson nicknamed her the dreaded Dunaway. Mommy Dearest in 1981 brought testimony from co-star Rutanya Alda. "My first day on the set, she slapped me. Instead of doing a stage slap, she slapped me on the cheek, hard and for real." People despised Faye because she was rude to people. Costume designer Irene Sharaf walked off the film for the first time in a 45-year career, saying that entering Miss Dunaway's dressing room required throwing a raw steak in first to divert her attention. Johnny Carson's Tonight Show in 1988 asked Bette Davis who she'd least want to work with again, and Davis didn't hesitate. Faye Dunaway, "Everybody who you put in this chair would tell you the exact same thing." June 24, 1994, brought Andrew Lloyd Webber firing Dunaway from the Los Angeles production of Sunset Boulevard because she could not satisfactorily sing the part. A $6 million lawsuit followed in August 1994, settling out of court in January 1995. Tea at 5 in Boston during 2019 ended with her termination after allegations of slapping and throwing things at crew members. Personal assistant Michael Rocha filed a lawsuit on August 15, 2019, claiming she called him a little homosexual boy. Her 2024 HBO documentary Faye revealed for the first time that she has bipolar disorder. If you liked this analysis, you'll love where I go next. Click the video on your screen and find out.